Dude, you are getting well.
Dudes.
Such a great opener.
That is awesome.
Wow, that's the first like double ovation I've gotten from that. That's really wonderful. That's so cool. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Welcome, Bret Shuford and Stephen Hanna, the Broadway Husbands. And dear friends, I'm so happy to have you. I've been looking forward to this before I started this podcast. I'm just like, I gotta have these guys on my show.
What's happening? We're here.
It's a gift. It's so special. And you're not only Broadway husbands, you're also dads now too. So we'll definitely talk about that. So I just want to say thank you for making time in Parentland for us and for everyone who's listening live and in the future. Thank you.
Of course. We're lucky that Maverick is asleep. He goes to bed at 7, so we are in the clear.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I can't remember when we first met. I was trying to think back. It's been some time, and it was both through the land of creativity and recovery. And I've seen recently you guys you've posted a lot about sobriety on there, and I am curious, like, where you met. And this show is really about, like, you know, what we went through and how we got there, and what we've learned along the way. So I'm curious, like, we don't have to go all the way back, but what do you think brought you two together, and where did you meet?
Honestly,
he like for the longest time didn't even remember the first time we met. I had to like remind him like later. Go ahead.
My earliest memories of Stephen was being at the Rainbow Room AA. It's a 12-step. It's a gay AA meeting, and they used to be in this basement.
Or as we'd say, a gay meeting.
Gay. And their original location was this basement on 46th Street or 47th Street. I can't remember.
It's on 46th now. I think that it was on 45th.
It was on 45th.
Between 8th and 9th. Yeah.
Is that the place that's really decorated?
Now.
The hallways are really decorated?
Oh, yes.
Now.
It is now.
Yeah.
But their original location, the Rainbow Room, was this
basement room.
We would not have known it was even there, except that we did. And I remember it was the first, like, it was my regular, like, I was a daily meeting maker for like the first 5 years of recovery. And that was like the one that I would go to, and I had a coffee commitment. I think I chaired a couple meetings. Like, I was very, very involved in that meeting. And that's my earliest memory, is seeing Stephen in that room.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that.
Do you remember that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean,
When do you remember?
You have a better memory back then.
No, I don't.
My wife and I have totally different
stories. I remember
about
seeing him in that meeting for sure. Like, and one of my memories is like he was wearing like Heelys, and because he was auditioning for The Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
and
wait, are those the shoes with the little wheels on them?
Yeah,
oh my god,
for The Little Mermaid comics, we had to for the comics for Little Mermaid on Broadway, we had to use Heelys, and so I bought a pair and would rehearse. Like practice in them between shows.
That's amazing.
But
oh my god, this gets better.
Well, I got the show. So.
One of the first times that I remember though, like actually talking to Bret was probably around that time. Like I was very newly sober and basically a disaster. I mean, honestly, yeah, I was just like, probably had like, I don't know, like 60 days.
Not many of us get sober like by choice. We're not like,
no, it's not by choice. yeah,
Yeah.
I just got out of rehab and like, you know, I had like a crazy, like my hair was dyed like dark brown when I pushed it back, but when I pushed it forward, it had like these really cool like blonde pieces in it.
Ooh.
Anyway, I don't know what I was going
through. Were you in Rent?
Yeah, basically. But he came up
That's
to me
amazing.
on the 42nd Street platform and introduced himself and was like, "Hey, I know you from that meeting." And he gave me his card
Good
and asked how many
opening.
My
days I
card.
had. This is how old we are. He gave me his card
Nice.
and
Did it have his
and
headshot on it?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Most
Yes.
definitely.
And then I, from that moment on, like I, was like interested, in him. But we became friends in the beginning. Like it was just a friendship. I had a lot of things to clear up in my life, and when the time was right, which was like almost a year later, we kind of moved things forward. But yeah, that's how we kind of first
So
met.
we were sober friends with a lot of sexual tension in between.
You're like, I'm really trying not to
Man,
date the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and so did you like save his business card?
Oh
And
yeah. No, I
call-
was like,
and call
so
him
I had
back?
one of my friends at the time. I was like, oh my God, like look at this guy. He gave me his card, and we were going to his website, and at the time, Bret understudied Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast, and so my friend still to this day calls him that candle. He's like, how's that candle? And anyways,
Aw,
so yeah, that was how it
still
all.
burning.
Yeah, it's still burning, and that's kind of how it happened. And we try to be very like cautious, obviously, in the beginning, because one of the suggestions is to not get into a relationship within your first year, and especially with, well, not especially with, but just
You don't want to like transfer your addictions onto someone else.
Right,
I get
right,
it.
right.
I did that. That's how I met my wife.
Yeah.
So I understand. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we met, and that was the beginning.
That's
Many
awesome.
years ago now. Yeah.
Wow. And so when did when did marriage come into play?
I proposed to him at
June of 2008.
June 2008 on the rooftop at the Empire Hotel across from Lincoln Center.
Oh, wow.
And I went on tour in 2010.
Yeah.
I went on tour, and when I came back from the tour,
He came back on Valentine's Day of
I was like,
2011.
what are we doing? We've been engaged for this long, and like we're still not married. I need
He basically
to know.
gave me an ultimatum.
It's like, if we're not doing it, then what are we doing?
It's like
So
shit or get off the pot.
He was like, fine,
Yeah.
let's get married. I was like, okay, when? And he was like, how about on our dating anniversary, April 18th? And I was like, fine. So like February 14th, I started planning our wedding. In like 2 months, we got married.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
yeah. And
Was it at Disney World?
No, it was here in the city.
Because it wasn't legal to get married in most states.
It wasn't even
still.
legal here.
It wasn't legal in New York.
We got married in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. Do you remember the year?
2011. So like in a couple months
right,
later.
you just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple months later,
Wow.
New York became legal.
So 2011. So that's like almost 12 years ago. So, there's kids who have grown up with it legal, and we're thinking about, some of us take that for granted. So it's really interesting to think about the times when that wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really loved about the Episcopal Church that I grew up in, but growing up in the South too was like, what? Like it was just really confusing. And then when my dad came out, it was just, and I was like in puberty, so I didn't know. I was just like, I'm next. I'm gonna be gay too, so it's all good. But Bret, you grew up in Texas, right?
Yep.
This is going somewhere, this story. Okay, and then Stephen, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool. So do you guys feel like talking about your one of the things you talked about in your bio that I love is just that you do what you love, and you've always done what you've loved, and you love who you love. So was there ever a time when you loved like someone that, was there a time when you guys were ever not out, or you had to deal with your sexuality in terms of like falling in love, or based on where you grew up? I mean, I know in the South it was like,
yeah, I mean, I think we both have like
tense
versions of that. Yeah.
I mean, definitely, we're older, we're in our 40s. So
he is,
he
is, but I'm not.
I think think that, you know, I feel like each generation of LGBTQ people go through a different level of acceptance. It's like there's like this spectrum when you look at each generation. It's like a little bit easier for the next one, and it's a little bit easier for the next one. So a little bit. So, you know, for us, it was like, you know, for me at least, I can say growing up in Texas, and especially growing up in the part of Texas I grew up in, there's just so much. So it's just so much collective, you know, desire for acceptance. Like everyone, no one admires originality there. Everyone wants to fit in. Everyone's just like dying to like be the same person and believe the same thing and just surround themselves with people who do that. And so, you know, if you're not those things, then you're an outsider. And that was for me. That's how I felt growing up there. And but I was also very open about my feelings and just very expressive and very honest and just always curious and openly curious. I'm still like this. Like
Did you feel permission to be open, like in your household?
No, I just like forced it. I had to like force it.
Really?
Oh yeah. You know.
And when do you remember like choosing, like feeling like you really loved who you loved and you had permission to love who you loved?
It
Do you
really
remember when
took
that
me
feeling
up
started?
until my senior year of high school. My senior year of high school, I told my mom when I was 13 or 14 that I thought I might be gay. And then she told me that I should pray about it, go to church. I was too young to know, you know, which is like 13, 14 is pretty much when you know like who you're sexually attracted to.
Yeah.
And then for all of high school, she pretty much tortured me around, you know, it was pretty much, I would say, emotional abuse around my sexuality and trying to control the outcome of who I was. And that was really, really hard. And, you know, I've done a lot of work on it in therapy and all of that, but it's, you know, I don't think I'm alone in that experience, but it was definitely unique in that I tried to come out. I was like, I think I'm gay. And it was like, no, you're not. No, but I think I might. But no, you're not. You should go. You're just not. You know, it was like there was no willing to listen or accept or see me for who I truly was. And so it was my senior year. I remember my mom came up to me and was like, she'd see me I just got more confident. I just started to kind of go, oh, this is who I am and I'm okay with it and whatever. Like, it's just like a small, minute part of my full humanness. And my mom, like, where are you at with this gay thing? Like April of my senior year of high school. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I am. And she just started crying. Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. She said, this is worse than when my father died. He had died of cancer like a couple of years before that. And I don't know where I got it, but I just went, this has nothing to do with you.
Wow. Thank God you eventually figured that out. You know, I think a lot of us take on stuff from our parents, you know.
Yeah. It's hard when you're in an abusive, you know, it was an abusive relationship. And I think that really, when you're in it, it's hard to see it. And especially if it's the only thing you know, you're like, it's your parents.
Yeah.
But
and you've done work on that. You said, do you have a relationship with her today?
Yeah. I mean, it's very, honestly, moving back to Texas during the pandemic, it's become even more distant than it was before. But I think that's actually because it's a healthier relationship now than it was before.
Yeah.
I've learned how to set boundaries and keep those boundaries. And while it's hard, and, you know, sometimes I'm just you have to go through like a grieving stage when those relationships change. But yeah, they're still in our life and they love Maverick and I know they love Steven, but I have 3 brothers who also, they're trying to, as they say, we treat all of our sons equally. And I'm like, but we're not equal. And they're not willing to see that. And that's okay. That's their thing. So it's challenging, but I think that's just the nature of homophobia. That's the nature of American culture. And I think that's the nature of, you know, toxic religious teachings, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for saying all of that and for being so open about that with us. And it's very powerful, and it's I really hope that this is helping someone who's listening.
Me too.
Stephen, do you remember when you first felt permission to love who you wanted to love?
Yeah, I mean, it's
When you
interesting
really
because
owned it?
yeah, it's funny because I was a kid that would have probably stayed in the closet forever. I mean, I did. I stayed in the closet probably until I was like 23, was like when I finally like told my parents for real and finally just like stopped kind of lying about it and stopped kind of hiding it. Which is funny because I moved to New York when I was 12. Um,
Wow. To the city?
yeah, so I grew up like in dorms at Lincoln Center, and you know, if I wanted to be probably open about who I was, there were people there that would have totally accepted me and loved me for who I was, but for whatever, hi,
My cat's
hello,
talking.
a cat's quack, says the duck. What is it?
Yeah.
Little dogs go ruff, 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 and cats and kittens say meow.
If we read that to Maverick.
That's what we read to Matt, right? But
That's
like,
adorable.
you know, there were people that probably would have totally accepted me, and I did come out every once in a while to some people, and then I would go back in and just lie and, you know, just play the game of like having a girlfriend, but I was really doing other things with guys, and you know, for years. um and then I finally like was pretty out and open, and I had a boyfriend, and but I still didn't tell my mom. Like she was like the last person that I told. And
Was this before or after rehab?
this is before.
Before.
And yeah, before. And the reason why I told her was because I had been up for a day or two, and I was super emotional, as one would be after being up for a day or two. And I would call her, you know, I'd be coming down from whatever, and I would call her, and it was like, you know, 5 p.m. and I'm just like a mess and crying. And she was like, Stephen, you know, maybe you'd feel better if you just got a girlfriend. And I was like, Mom, I just lost her one day and said I'm gay. And then we didn't talk for a while. But you know,
I'm seeing the pattern here.
and we didn't talk for a while, and things got better. You know, but that was like really the last hurdle. For whatever reason, I didn't have any really specific instances of like my mom saying, you don't know, or like pointing out homosexuality as being bad. But it was ingrained in me, obviously, because I was so ashamed of myself, and was unable to be open about it. And I think that it maybe wasn't the first reason why I picked up a drink or a drug, but it definitely contributed to the roller coaster that I was on, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you both for sharing that. And
Yeah.
do you remember so we've talked about like when you first felt permission to love someone else or who you wanted to love. When did you first feel permission or learn to love yourselves? Do you guys remember that?
Oh man, I don't know.
I feel like it happens again and again.
I feel like it's something I have to give myself permission to all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was ever an event. I will say there's been a couple moments in my life where I felt like the only way I can describe it is like I could see my like 6-year-old self seeing me for the first time, or like seeing, going, oh, this is the person I always wanted to be. And one was on Broadway. When I was taking a bow on Broadway, I remember thinking, wow, this is exactly who I always wanted to be. And then the other has been with Stephen and Maverick.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
I would have to agree. It's funny, like professional stuff doesn't really, it's weird. It's like professional things, like I've reached certain goals that I definitely like wanted for a long period of time, but I always feel like sometimes I'm never that aware in certain situations until after the fact, you know? But like in life, I mean, on a daily basis with Maverick, especially when Bret and I are with him together, and I just have this realization. I said to him the other day, I was like, I just don't want to wake up. We were probably like 37, like when we really started the journey to have him, like 36, something like that. And I said to him, I was like, I just don't want to wake up and be 50 years old and we don't have a family. Like, I do not want that. That is like not what I want. And I said to him the other day, I was like, because we were upset about something else. And I was like, look, but it's okay. Remember when I said that? Like, we did it. We now have a child. We have a family. And it's like one of the biggest gifts ever. And obviously, you know, our wedding day was also a big day. Just because, like, I don't think I saw the importance or the significance of actually getting married. You know, I guess because we're gay, and like at that time, for the longest time, it just didn't feel like there was importance to it. Like it didn't hold power. It was just an event. It was superficial. Like, you know, those are the things that I told myself. But the day that we got married, I mean, it was such a powerful, moving experience. I cried the most tears of joy I've ever cried in my life. Up until that point, I only cried tears of like coming down, crashing, wanting to die, you know. But yeah, I cried so much that day. And
Meanwhile, I
tears
cry
of joy.
like a Kleenex commercial, you know.
Yeah.
These,
you know, and it's wait, what were things like? I think that like at one point in the pandemic, I had like a real emotional breakthrough too, because I was crying again in therapy, like consistently. And I always felt for the longest time that I had no emotions. Like after being sober for so long, I was like, it's just weird. And then all of a sudden, much later on, like I feel more emotional now, and it's awesome. Like I love it. Like I'm like, oh my God, I have emotions and I feel them. Like I really, really feel them. So I kind of went off track on your question, but
no, this is great. I love it. Wherever we're going, it's great.
okay.
Yeah, we were talking about, you know, learning to love yourself. So yeah, that really hit home. And I'm hearing how much having a child changed that love too. So what do you feel like? So how, first of all, how long you mentioned, it sounds like 6 years or something has been the journey. How long have you been looking to be
I mean, it took us 4 years
fathers?
It took us 4 years
to
to
actually give birth. It's from when we started, but we had, you know, started planning it before that, and so it was a hard, you know, test of patience, if you will.
patience, patience, and
Wow.
and just trying not to get, just living in the moment that you're in is actually, you know, because so many things happen that are so out of your control, and you know, you think it's happening and then it's like you gotta wait, you know. It's just so many like stops and starts along the way.
For people who don't know how the pregnancy happened, it wasn't the Immaculate Conception part two. It was, well, or maybe, I don't know. Was it not immaculate, right?
It might have known.
No, we went through surrogacy. So we did IVF. We created an embryo through an egg donor.
Now, how did you decide whose sperm?
We didn't.
We didn't.
We had them
forever.
we had them split the eggs in half and create embryos out of half and half, and then and
so we have 5 embryos.
We had 5 embryos. We have no idea who they are. We told them not to tell us. And then
so I'm interrupting.
And then we had an anonymous egg donor, so we don't know who the egg donor is. I mean, we know her profile. We've seen, you know, her medical history and stuff, but that's it.
And she had a beautiful video. We should talk about her video.
Sweet.
We saw only 3 profiles, and she was the first profile that we saw, and she had a video. And she just talked about how she always wanted to help a gay family because her husband didn't have great parents and was kind of taken in by a gay couple, and they helped him kind of become who he was today. And they always wanted to have a kid, but by the time they really realized that it was a little too late. And so she always wanted to help a gay family. She was a twin, and Bret is a twin, and she was a dancer, and I'm a dancer. So we were like,
oh my gosh,
instantly like, great, done.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so you choose your egg donor
like
online, looking at social media profiles, like.
Well, it's not social. It's not that. It's a little more than that. But yeah,
it's a little bit more like a hospital type setting. But yes, yeah.
Wow.
And so they made 5 embryos, and
then they implant the embryo into what they call a gestational carrier or a surrogate, and that happened to be a friend of ours who volunteered.
This story's wild too. I remember some of this, right?
And her name's Crystal. She's amazing, and she carried Maverick, and she helped us become a family.
Yeah.
And how did can you tell us the brief story of how you met her? Was it like in a party or something?
No, so our friend Kate and Andrew got married at Disney World. We were friends before they did that, so the Disney part just happened to be because they like Disney like we do. But the wedding photographer who took their photos is married to Crystal, and so we met Crystal through them when we went to celebrate their anniversary at Disney World with them.
And so we became friends with them.
We became friends with them, but then that was, and we'd been talking about wanting to have a kid. I think we told her that story when we all went to Disney World that one time before we even started. Like this is maybe 2017 or something like that, right? So then when we had tried to have we tried to use a surrogate that we found on Facebook.
And it had moved forward. Like she had done, we went to the doctor.
Long story short, she bailed on us.
It was supposed to happen, and then it didn't.
So we were really upset.
And this was around Thanksgiving of 2019.
And our friend Kate, who got married at Disney World, was having her surprise birthday party, and Crystal had come in for it. And so we're at Kate's birthday party, and Crystal's having a glass of wine, and she's like, "Oh my god,
I heard
about your surrogate. And you get to be such great dads. I would totally carry your baby." And we were like, "Okay, keep drinking more wine." And then the next day she was like, "I'm serious," and she did. She carried our baby.
Wow, that's miraculous. And how old is Maverick now?
10 months.
10 months, almost. What's today's date?
Almost 11.
Yeah. In 7 days, he'll be 11 months.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what is your favorite thing about being a dad? For you two, maybe have something different.
Ooh, that's a good question. I am fascinated. I don't know how to say it. Like it sounds boring the way this is coming out, but it's fascinating to me. It's like I'm fascinated by his development, like watching his day-to-day evolution of becoming a human being is fascinating. It's like you just can't even like you see babies all the time on the street, but when you're seeing that the development on the daily, you're just like, wow, I'm seeing this spiritual being learn how to function in this fucked up, crazy world.
Yeah, what's that like?
It's insane. I'm like, wow, when he gets upset, I'm just like, yeah, I know, it's so weird, isn't it? This is such a weird place, and the human body is so uncomfortable. I get it, dude. I get it,
Wow. And what about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'll have to agree a little bit with Bret. Like, I mostly almost always go in and get him in the morning, and it's so fun. Even if he's like awake before I go in, which is most of the time he's already awake, but like, it's like pitch black in the room, and then I'm like, good morning, and turning on the lights, and he's like laying there like he's so excited. And it's just the sweetest thing, and he always looks slightly different. I will say that too. Yeah, it's
crazy.
The development.
Every morning you're like, oh my god, look at you now.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember
overnight.
No, seriously, like it was like I remember one day it was like, you have eyelashes, right? And the next day, like, you have eyebrows, right? And then now he has like 6 teeth. Like, what
the teeth? Yeah,
like, it's crazy. crazy.
Wow.
And just
That's
his
amazing.
development and his like attention span growing, and like, you know, he's doing everything but walking right now, and
He's so close.
you know, just spending time with him and like connecting with him and everything. I mean, I think I like everything.
Can we just
about
say
it,
that he started this game? He created this game.
This
I mean,
crazy,
he's so smart.
so cute.
He created this game this week, like just this week in the last 7 days. And it's like a version of hide and seek.
Because he's obsessed with peekaboo, like
He
obsessed.
loves it.
He's obsessed with it.
And he plays this version where we can still see him, but he'll hide behind the bars,
And he's like,
and then he'll pop up above the bars at the play space.
and he's like, he waits it out. He doesn't
He'll
just
sit
keep
there and
going
watch
up and
you,
down.
and
He
he'll
like
wait.
waits.
He'll watch you. So now he's
Wow.
doing a thing
He
where
really
he
goes
actually
for it.
goes behind your back so you can't see
So-
him. So you're just like, where is he? Where is he? And then he pops up.
Wow, that sounds really advanced for his age.
Not do a thing. Like he just came up with this on his own. We're just sitting there, and I'm like, what are you doing?
But it's funny because one of the toys that he
Oh my
still
God,
has.
that sounds amazing.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it started because he has a toy that's a colander that, you know, you like drain pasta with, and that's like one of his toys, and he loves it. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of how it started, because he would lay on the ground before he could even really
You know,
sit up,
Yeah.
and he would just hide his face and like look through it, and then he would go
And he like looked through the holes. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there any things like what's your least favorite part about being a parent?
Honestly, it's going out into the world.
Yeah.
It is so hard. I get so
Like
stressed
making
out.
sure you have all the things, or like what feels the most challenging about it?
Honestly, it's people. I just don't
Trust
trust
people.
people. So
Yeah.
I'm just like super nervous when I'm out in public because I'm like, I'm on guard. And I don't have to be. Like, I trust him, and I know I'm going to protect my son, but for some reason it's New York, we're in New York right now. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't trust people. And
It's
so-
interesting. So it's interesting. I think like basically it's
That's
like
very honest.
you don't feel safe, but like here in the city, like walking around with him exposed, it's like if you feels like anything can happen, so you're constantly, kind
You're
of
just
dodging.
ready. I'm always ready.
But on the other hand, like in Texas, when you're in a car, that comes with a different kind of
It's
feeling.
true.
Do you know what I mean? Because people drive like maniacs. It's like
Oh my God.
that's a
I've
different
seen like
kind of
4
safety.
accidents in the last day. And just like it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another podcast.
I think
So
the other thing I would say, just like to not put this on me sounding like I hate people, because I do like people, is that I think
you're
the
a
hard
very loving guy.
is
somewhere
sitting
there.
sitting with his uncomfortable feelings.
Yes.
When he's uncomfortable and he's upset, your natural instinct is to want
Want
to
to fix
it.
everything, and
How do I help him and like fix it? And that to me is like just does such a huge disservice to him, because he has to learn that like the world is like things are uncomfortable, and like it's okay to be uncomfortable, and like I want him to have emotional intelligence. I want him to know that like I'm not going to always be there to fix everything, and like he's going to have to learn how to like get through these uncomfortable feelings, and and that most of the time he pushes through it. And it's fascinating. The more that we do that, the more we let go and allow him to have whatever feelings he's having, the more becomes more confident, the more like the more the game he's creating this game, right? Like that's because he's like, cool, I'm gonna go do this thing, right? He just feels like he can trust himself,
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is great. Well, Stephen, you didn't get to answer, did you?
I mean, I didn't, but
Sorry.
what the question was.
That was great.
The
I
question
just couldn't
was.
remember.
No. I mean, I did a little bit, but
You
it's
did.
just kind of like.
Is there anything about
Yeah,
like,
I
release?
mean, I think it's that. It's like it's not. It's the trusting that he's okay, and the things that I can provide for him, they do help comfort him. Like the basic needs, but trusting that he's okay. Like even when he is sometimes crying, and not able to calm down, just trusting that he's okay. But
Is that
honestly,
something you guys dealt with? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go ahead, ask. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you both brought up trust. Is that something you felt like you dealt with before you had a child, or has this really come up now? I mean, I remember in
I,
New York sometimes feeling safer there because of all the people in the past. I don't live there right now, but I can imagine if you have, your offspring, that's a whole other feeling.
Well,
So did that shift for you guys?
New York doesn't feel the same as it did pre-pandemic, so that's one
Mhm.
thing.
but I think to answer your question that you just asked too is like having a child, yes, changes your perspective on basically everything. But like what may have been okay for me to walk down the street and like just be like, oh, whatever, it's just somebody peeing on the car with some random girl next to him, like that's okay. But then when I'm walking outside with my baby in a stroller and some guys peeing on a car, right there, it's not the same.
It hits different.
It hits different, you know what I mean?
I'm sorry to laugh. It's a
That
laughter
happened.
recognition. Yeah, and it
That
happened.
happened, yeah, like a week ago. I was like, okay. I was like talking to him. I was like, all right, we're gonna go across the street over here. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So looking back now on yourselves, is there any advice or anything you do differently, like in this journey, becoming, finding each other or the careers you've had? Anything you think you'd change or do differently, or any advice you'd give to your younger self?
Oh God. I mean, I think it's like the advice I think I would tell my younger self is to like trust your gut. Um, be confident in if you want to do something, like do it. Don't wait until the misery is too much and you have to do it. Do you know what I mean? I,
Mhm.
I think really trust your gut. Like I feel like I've had so many different things in life where I've felt a certain way and wanted to change something. And there's like times that I kind of blame sobriety on this, like of like, oh well, I don't want to jump ship. Like I can, like sit through this a little bit longer and it's gonna change. And I'm not blaming sobriety, but I'm just saying like that's like my thinking about it, and I'm just like, but like there are times when like I'm unhappy and that's okay and you can change it. Like don't wait too long to change it. I think that that's like
Mm.
my biggest advice. And just like even if I'm not confident, like could I please just like pretend I'm confident a little bit easier and more of the time? Can I walk through life with even if it's not real confidence, but just like just pretend confidence? I don't even know. Like what's that? Is that
No, act as if.
act as if, because like when you're young and before I got sober, I mean, I would do some things. I was like, I wish I had the balls to do that today. I'm like, well, who is that person? And some of it's not good, but just,
Some of
just
it.
like,
Yeah.
just like, yeah,
Well, you're both like tall, handsome men. Like to hear you talking about your confidence and like what you dealt with it's really humbling. It's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I think confidence is something I tell my clients all the time. Like it's not something that it's not an event, right? It's not even something that um, you just like wait for. If you're waiting to feel confident, like you're just gonna constantly be waiting because it's like confidence is not the absence of our self-doubt. It's the acceptance of our self-doubt. It's knowing that like I'm gonna have self-doubt and I do it anyway. And I think that's hard for some people to sit with, but I find for myself, like if I was looking at my younger self, I honestly feel like I would have told myself to let my blood family go sooner, to set harder boundaries with them sooner, to know that like I wish I could have understood a little bit more about how willing I was to tolerate their intolerance for most of my adult life. And that it wasn't until I became a dad that I really saw it. And I do think that there's something about becoming a parent that you reparent yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing how much I want to give my son what I didn't have,
Wow.
you know?
That's beautiful. Yeah. So, I mean, most of the people assume, and if you do have kids out there, like time is not usually something you have a lot of, especially in the first year or two, right? So, well, maybe ever. I don't know until they grow up. Who knows?
We'll find
But
out.
how do you guys balance, how do you balance your careers and being in a relationship and having a son and co-parenting?
A lot of
Well,
negotiating.
I don't know that
What do you
we.
feel are like some of the things that like keep it
Okay,
together?
so I can
Like some
give
of the
you like
foundations.
yeah. So in the beginning, I don't know what it
Some
is
things are
today.
working because you're still here and you have this
And
beautiful
we
child,
still
and
We're still
do love
married.
each other.
watching you together is wonderful. At least this today. I don't know what it's like off camera, but
No, yeah. But it's terrible off camera. No, I'm just kidding. One of the things that really helped us in the beginning was, we were so excited to become dads, right? And so, like, even in the hospital, we were there for 2 days, and we're like tripping and fighting over each other on who's going to change his diaper and who's going to feed him, and like, it was
Literally,
yeah, that's
so
why I had to ask you the sperm question. I'm like, do I
Like,
even ask them this? I'm like, I
we're
have to
literally
know.
standing
Yeah.
on each other's feet, like, what are you doing? I'm changing his diaper. Well, no, I'm
changing
changing
his
his
diaper.
diaper.
Like, it was like it was so
Totally
that went on
funny.
for probably like a good month, maybe. Like, we would wake up in the middle of the night and like be
2 a.m.
like trying not to yell, but like fighting. And then we finally figured out that if I take care of him from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and Bret takes care of him from 4 a.m. until like the morning,
yeah. That's kind of we did shifts.
once we figured that out, that was a huge help in our relationship. Like, because in the beginning, we were both feeling so protective of him that we were kind of fighting each other, and that definitely helped. That was a simple tool.
But I think balancing like
Yeah.
work and stuff,
the work stuff,
is
I don't know that we
hard.
figured that
It's
out.
hard. It's like especially as an
impossible.
entrepreneur, right? It's not like
Right.
we get
You're both like kind of freelance, like you work for
Yeah.
yourselves.
we don't get
you're-
family leave. We don't get like no one's gonna let us like have paternity leave or like we're.
I mean, we took time off. Don't get me wrong.
But I only did 5 weeks. If I
Oh, that's
could have, I
right.
would have done 3 months.
It was only 5 weeks.
Because I wanted to give him, like, honestly, I would have been more productive if I had given myself 3 months. So you're just like figuring those things out. And I think that's the thing. It's like we're figuring it out. We're doing it imperfectly.
And it's also like a process. I'm clearly tired. Because like in the beginning, I couldn't even respond to an email. Like, I was incapable. Like, I was going back to work, and the woman I was working for at the time would ask me questions. She would be like, yeah, she would ask it to my face, and she'd be like, I sent that in an email. Can you just tell me the answer right now? Like, I was just incapable of getting on my phone because I didn't want to not be present for Maverick. Like, I was just
That's
so
the hard
like,
part.
I don't want to take time away from him,
That's really the hard part. Is for me, when I'm with him, I want to be fully present. So if I start thinking about work, I'll start thinking about, oh, I didn't respond to this, or I need to schedule this appointment, or I need to respond to that. And it's like, and then I'm not with him, and I want to be fully with him. And that's really the hard part of doing all of this. And I also think that I'm learning, at least, that something has to give. Like, something's going to have to take a back seat, maybe temporarily, right? But I'm going to have to decide where the priorities are, especially because like Stephen's now in rehearsals for a Broadway show, which was not something we were doing.
Oh.
And so now it's like, okay, well, what needs to go so that we can financially afford to do this? Because you deserve to be doing what you love. I want him to be an artist. He's a beautiful dancer, and this is such a great opportunity, but it is a shift in how we operate. So we're figuring it out again. And I do think that's one of the beautiful gifts of being an actor, as long as we know how to adjust. we know how to just like get through, make choices until you get through the scene, and then like you'll show up for the curtain call and everyone will go home and you're fine, right? That's kind of how we are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But it's been a huge change too. Like I'm now working full time I've been working full time for the past 3 weeks, and it's been a huge adjustment.
Congratulations on the show, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You want to tell us what it is? Can you
Yeah,
just talk about it?
Yeah, I'm going to be in New York, the new musical on Broadway, directed and choreographed by Susan Stroman, it's going to be great. But the like thank you. The logistical side of like going back to work like that full time. I mean, I cried in therapy like for weeks. I kept going back and forth. I was like, am I really doing this? And my therapist was just, I mean, I was like curled and crying, and she's like, it was, she was basically like,
recently, like while you're in the show, like rehearsal.
No, this is before I really decided to do it. But it was just such a hard decision because I just don't want to be away from him. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm kind of adjusting to that right now. I have my moments of like, questioning things and questioning my choice. But it's been good. I have been able to be with him every day in the morning for a couple hours. And then I run home and I give him a bath and put him to bed. So we were making it work, but it's a huge adjustment.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And you're in these different hours now too, right?
Yeah.
And then Bret, what are you working on right now? What are you excited about? I want to say, by the way, before you answer that, actually, I just want to give a big shout out to you because, I hired Bret as a coach last year, and it made a huge difference in my life and my business. And I love him as a human, and he's extraordinary. Like if I could just hire him all the time, I would. So I just want to give a shout out. Like I'm a coach, but I also like this is someone I really loved, and it's made a big difference in how I interact with the world and social media and my brand and finding my voice. So if there's anyone who's looking for that, I highly recommend Bret.
Well, I think you're killing it. I mean, dude. So yeah, I mean, I am working on my coaching business, but that of course I'm able to do less and less because, I can only work with a selective amount of people now because it's just too limited. My time is too limited because of Maverick.
Because I'm working full time.
Being a dad.
It's my fault.
I'm like a dad pretty much 6 days a week. But also because Broadway Husbands as a brand has become this other business, and I want to, I just can't run both things as much as I was, and then be a dad. So I had to start kind of prioritizing where's the most income and the most growth potential. And also like what I've learned is that the potential for Broadway Husbands kind of leads to your question is like, I learned for myself that Broadway Husbands is fun if we're just sharing our lives, and visibility is great. But if it's not in service to others, it's not going to be sustainable for me.
Yeah.
And I learned that as a dad now, there's a huge need and a desire for a community for two dad families, because it's such a unique experience that no one can understand. I mean, it doesn't matter, like, hetero families can understand it, and two mom families, it's a very different experience and it's hard to explain. And I feel like there's just no community for other gay dads to find each other and be able to say, okay, I live in the suburbs of Houston and my kids are 8 years old and they've never seen another two dad family. And so what if we could bring them together and say, here, let's do these meetups. What if we can create events for them and ways to help them be better parents and better partners? So I want to create this community. It's like something I'm very passionate about right now. And it kind of merges coaching and what we've built with Broadway Husbands in a way. And I feel like that's really my calling now.
That's so exciting.
Thanks.
Well, when do you have an idea or timeline for this?
Well, right now,
Anything you can share about?
we're focusing mostly on creating content on YouTube.
Mhm.
So if you just go to our Broadway Husbands channel, you can see a lot of that stuff there. We're interviewing other gay dads. And then we started a Facebook group. So if anyone is listening who's a two-dad family or wants to be in a two-dad family, you can go to, just look up Hi Husbands, HI Husbands.
On .com or
Well, no, just go to Facebook.
the
Hi
Facebook
Husbands.
group. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I called this dude "You're Getting Two Dads," so hopefully it'll attract some dads.
That's perfect.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We'll pay for Maverick when he gets older.
Oh, he's gonna be like, God, why'd you guys worry so much? Just go do your show and have fun and like, God,
I hope
I'm just a
I hope that's
baby.
what he says. I hope
He's going to
that's
be
what he
curing
says.
climate change. He'll be too busy to listen to
Yeah.
us.
Oh my God.
Oh,
There's pictures.
way.
That is adorable. So if we go to Broadway Husbands on Instagram too, we can see a lot more about him. Is there anything else about your brand or this? Do you still do the podcast, the Broadway Husband, in all your extra free time now?
Funny enough,
We're talking about
we're going to
it.
probably pick
Yeah.
it back up this year.
We're talking about
Uh-huh.
it.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out how
With this new lens
Yeah.
of supporting the gay dad community.
Yeah.
And what was the Facebook group called? Hi
Husbands.
Hi Husbands. Okay, cool. Plural. Hi Husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're almost at time. I just have a couple more questions for you guys.
Yeah.
So, if your lives, and I want you to each answer this individually, or you could, well, no. Let's make this more fun.
Individually.
You're going to each answer individually, but it's going to be about your lives together.
We're no
So
longer individuals. We
What
are
are you
just
talking
one
about?
unit.
If you're get out of my way, it's my diaper time.
It's intense.
I can't believe you're doing this right now.
Existential moments at 3
really
a.m.
feel
talking like this, so we don't wake the baby up.
That makes me feel better because I really feel like that's gonna be Cassie and me when we have a baby. It's gonna
It
be
passes.
like-
It passes.
It all
Okay, good.
changes.
Sorry, the cat is like really trying to get my attention. I've already fed it, so I don't know. So yeah, if your lives today were a Hollywood film, what would you name it?
Our life today.
Yeah, or up to now. If your lives, yeah.
Oh, I already have the name.
Oh yeah,
and I think
it's
it's
so good.
I think it's
oh my
gonna be-
god, this is so
Right,
unfair.
Steven, do you have a name?
It's
No,
gonna be-
the
I
one
don't.
that he has.
That's a
No,
great name.
it's the same one. Okay.
No, okay,
What
go
is
ahead,
it?
say yours, and then maybe I'll come up with something.
a caribou in Texas.
That's great. That's great. I'm not even, full disclosure, I'm not 100% sure what a caribou is.
It's like a deer, but it's like a Canadian.
Oh, right.
It's like a
basically like a
Canadian
It's an
reindeer.
antler thing.
It's like a reindeer.
Like a Canadian
Yeah.
moose. I don't know, what would mine be like?
Caribou.
Liquor to LaCroix.
That's good.
Nice.
You just came up with that.
Is it LICKER or LIQ?
It could be
Some of
both.
those SAB girls.
Okay.
Right. He loves
I'm not
giving me a
even
hard
sure.
time too about the fact
Okay.
that
I'm a
I've been-
golden. what are they called? Gold
Golden
star gay.
gay.
I'm a gold star gay.
like he'll say
He's
like
not.
somebody will say something about a woman and he'll be like, I don't know, Steven, you know. I'm like, stop. Enough.
Wow. That's great. So, who would you?
You can cut that out if you need to.
Yeah.
No, this is
It's live,
all
it's too
staying
late.
in. This is all in.
That's too late.
So the other thing is, who would you cast as your parents? If you could cast anyone.
Who did I cast as my parents?
I would say,
I would cast Randy Quaid as my dad, and
Okay.
Loretta Lynn as my mom.
Wow. That's great. This sounds like a great movie.
My first instinct.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with my
Your
first
first
instinct.
instinct, yeah.
It's not a good instinct.
It doesn't matter. We've had
Is-
like the Power Rangers as an
It's
answer.
Al Pacino and Kathy Bates.
Ooh.
It's a heavy show.
Wow.
It's a heavy movie.
That
Hey,
is gonna be intense.
it has been. It has been.
Yeah.
It has been.
Oh my gosh. I haven't laughed this much in a long time. Thank you. I hope other people are laughing, but I don't even care. I'm just having so much fun. Okay. So finally, oh, right, we skipped one. What's your favorite curse word? Steven,
Fuck.
Brett.
I love to say cunt. I mean, it's
Nice.
a terrible word. It's a terrible word, but when it's the right moment, it's the only appropriate one.
Yeah. Nice. And if you guys could each give the world one gift today, what gift would you give us?
Maverick James.
That's
I'm
a
gonna
great
cry.
answer. I'm already crying. It's okay.
I know. I would just say the ability to like take a breath,
Hmm.
like a real breath.
And if we all were able to take let's do that together, shall we? Let's take a deep breath. Nice.
See?
And if the whole world took a deep breath, what do you see possible that might not be today?
That everyone would be just a little bit calmer and accepting of others. Yeah.
I just think people would feel seen.
Yeah.
People would feel seen. I feel like there's so much so many blinders up.
Yeah.
People don't really see each other.
Yeah. Here. Well, thank you for that. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, could we close by saying, dude, you're getting well? Or would you guys say that
Yeah.
to me on camera? Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Dude, you're getting well.
That was amazing. There, nailed it. That was great. Thank you all so much for your time, and everyone who listened and has contributed, please comment and let us know what resonated. As I learned from Brett's Instagram today, you should know that it is much better to comment than like for us influencers. So if you actually want to make a difference, leave a comment.
Yeah, and
share it. Yes, thank you. And follow the Broadway Husbands. And if you're dads or dads or you're looking to be dads, check out Hi Husbands on Facebook. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ben.
Feels
Thank you so much, Ben.
We love
I
you.
love you guys.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful. Oh, and subscribe. Subscribe here. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
Okay. We love you. Good night.